The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod. We're coming to you live from the Warner Center in Woodland Hills, California. This is the home for Autism Live. It is also the home for the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. We're so thrilled to be here with you on this Thursday morning. We're going to be with you live for the next 2 hours, bringing you autism from a 360-degree perspective. Hopefully we'll be able to touch on enough things that everyone will be able to get something. We love to be here with you and bring you guests and experts, and boy, have I got a plethora of them today. I'm actually really excited. It's the year of the woman, right? And I've got 3 amazing women that are going to be guests on the show today that you're really, really going to enjoy. But before we get to that, as I said, we want the whole program to be interactive. That's really what we love the most. So Samantha is going to show you some of the different ways that you can interact, some of the different ways that you can participate. And I want to remind you that all of them are free. So take a look at your screen. And while you're looking at that, I want to remind you that our homepage is autism-live.com. Now, I've been promising you a retool on the website, and I think we're days away from that. So you're not going to believe when you see the new website. But for now, when you go to the website, there's a computer screen, and if you click on the little triangle that's on the computer screen, it will start playing either the live show, if we happen to be live when you're watching, or the most recently recorded live show. Now, up in the upper left-hand corner of the computer screen there's a little memo icon, and if you click on that, you can watch any of the 100 most recent episodes from their instant gratification, right? But now to the side of the computer screen is what we call the live feature. And we're still going to have the live feature when we move to the new website, but it's going to look really different. For right now, it's a series of white boxes. If you put your cursor in the white box that says your questions and you type and hit enter, that's really it. You don't have to log in. There's no username. There's no password. Nobody asking for a credit card because it's totally, totally free. We don't even ask you to, put in your email. You can be completely anonymous when you write in on that site. Now, because it's completely anonymous, I have no way of getting back to you, right? I have no way of asking you a question. I have no way of saying, where do you live? So put as much information as you want in there. It does have a limit, but then if you want to, you can continue on in the next box. Just put something so that I realize, you can put, 2 of whatever, so that person who is asking about this, whatever, so that I know which one it attaches to. Because sometimes somebody asks the question in the middle and I go, I don't get it. So the inner workings of my mind in case. And if it's a really long question that you want to write in and you want to remain anonymous, because look, you can write it on YouTube, you can write it on Facebook, but then everybody sees your username at least and can reach back out to you. But if anonymity is something that's important to you, and we know that it is for many of you, and you need to write something longer, just email me. And I know yesterday during the show, Dr. Graham-Pichet, there were several times people asked a question, and especially card clients that were saying, why hasn't this happened, or what, and she was saying to you, and she was absolutely right, write to me, because then I'll follow up with her. And sometimes it's just, you know how it is, sometimes you just need somebody who's there, and sometimes I can just walk down the hallway and go, what's happening with this, right? So anyway, my email is s.penrod. So S as in Sam .penrod, Penrod @ autism- that's the dash in the middle, live, live.com. For those of you listening on iTunes, Penrod is P as in Peter, E, N as in Nancy, R as in robot, O as in Oscar, and D as in dog. I love that because all the names in there are people that I love here at CARD: Peter, Nancy, and Oscar. In any case, we like to start every morning with something we fondly refer to here as the jargon of the day. This is when we take on one word, one phrase, one acronym. We try to figure out, what are the experts talking about? What does this have to do with me? And really, at the end of the day, my question is, do I really need to know this? Is this essential? And you know what the truth is that with the jargon, if it saves you time and money, then it's essential, right? And if you really know these jargon terms, because I don't give you the ones that don't get used. We use the ones that are meaningful. And if you really use and know these jargon terms when other people are using them, it saves you time and money. That's what I'm all about. So first we give you the actual definition when possible, which is almost always. I like to make great fun of it because I can't believe that they think people would understand the definitions. And then we move on to the working definition, where we make the experts break out into hives because we boil it down to the simplest possible terms that we can and try to get a grasp on it. Don't be afraid if you don't get it the first time, because sometimes you got to hear it 12 times and see it in motion. But I'll tell you, as a former teacher, if just the hearing of it can help you to understand, because when you do see it and have the aha moment and go, oh, that's what they're talking about, it will have helped you to get there. Okay, so I, of course, don't have my jargon together because I came in really late, but Samantha's got it. Look what our jargon is today. FAPE. Okay, if you are new to the autism community, you're going to say, I have never seen this word before. Well, it's because it's not a word, it's alphabet land, standing for other things. So let's take a look at what our actual definition. FAPE is free, appropriate public education, a term frequently referred to in IEPs. Okay, now, first of all, if you're new to Autism Land and somebody says, oh, well, you got to ask for FAPE, and you Google FAPE, right? And you go, okay, it's frequently used in IEPs. I had a great conversation with a friend of mine the other day because I was saying, oh, this week, boy, it's just kicking my butt 68 ways from Sunday, right? And I got an IEP on Friday. And she said, honey, you say that at least once or twice a year. I hear you talking about IEP. And she goes, and I smile and nod, and I know it's a stressful thing, but what in the heck is an IEP, right? And I got to be honest with you that I was going to IEPs for years before I was like, wait, what does that stand for? So I hate it when we have to go to another definition in a definition, but for this one we really do. IEP stands for Individualized Education Plan or Program. And when we say, well, I got an IEP, but what we mean is I have an IEP meeting. It's usually every year. If you have a child that has an individualized education plan, usually every year there will be a discussion where all the team gets together and they will affirm what the goals are for the next year, and any accommodations that need to be put into the plan and the program are agreed to by everybody on the team, the parents being an important part of the team, right? So great, but how do we figure out what goals a child is going to get? Well, there are laws, quite frankly. So and one of them is that your child gets a free, appropriate public education. So let's move on to our working definition. FAPE, it's what your child is legally entitled to in the United States. Now, all of a sudden you go, wait, what? So what is it again? If I'm legally entitled to it, I probably need to know this. You're entitled to a free, appropriate public education. Now, there was a lot of discussion in the last presidential election because one of the things that one of the candidates, when people were talking about Hillary Clinton, they were saying, when they first knew her, it was back in the days that she was famous for going door to door because she wanted to find all the children in the state of Arkansas that were not in school. Why were these kids not in school? There was a pretty high percentage of kids that just weren't in the classrooms. And why was that? And as she went door to door and found and located a lot of these children, she found that they were disabled. And when she talked to the parents about why is your child not in school, it was because the school didn't have anything for them. There was nothing. Now, it wasn't just Hillary Clinton. There were a lot of people, and IDEA was passed, and that is the law under which our kids are entitled to that free, appropriate public education. So it incenses me when, I try to stay out of chat groups, but when somebody will post something and then you see parents and it's about education and how we need more funding for special education, and parents will say, though I pay my taxes for my kid to go to school, those parents need to take care of their own. And you go, wait, what? Because those parents are paying taxes too. So are you saying everybody needs to pay their taxes, and then kids who don't have any different needs than yours are taken care of, but everybody else, it's the responsibility of their parents? It's always fascinating to me, right? And sometimes if I want to go down the rabbit hole, I will write back to those people responding and saying, oh, did you know that's illegal? It's illegal to discriminate against people and saying, just because you can't do it my way, you can't come to school. That we have laws here in the United States. And FAPE is your child's right. Free, so they cannot charge you for it. Appropriate public education. Now, there's more to it, but we're just talking about FAPE today. Now, a lot of people go, well, the free is the important part of this, right? I got to tell you, that's probably one of the least contentious words in the series. The one where everybody gets hung up on is appropriate. What is appropriate? And recently, the Supreme Court said appropriate means more than de minimis, which is doing the least amount. A lot of times you'll see schools who say, well, parent will sit there at the IEP meeting and say, well, I want what's best for my child. And the school will say, we're not responsible for giving you the best. We're responsible for giving you appropriate. And I will say to you as a parent, we need to go in knowing that and arguing what we believe appropriate is. The tool that I use to help me know what is appropriate, skills. It tells me all the time what's appropriate. It tells me what's age appropriate, what's skill appropriate, what's next in line. That's why I have that on the desk, because that tool helps me more than anything else. And I'm a former teacher. To go in and have an idea of what's appropriate for my son at this moment in time, because it is not a cookie cutter, and it shouldn't be. And a lot of times you'll see that with the schools will be like, oh, he's in 3rd grade, so here are the goals. If that's not what the child needs, then, it's not going to be an effective IEP. And what you want in that IEP is the goals that are going to get it done to make the progress for the next year. So FAPE, free, appropriate public education. Everybody in the United States is entitled to it. Isn't that a good thing? I absolutely love that. Okay, moving on. We always have a question of the day. And the question of the day today is, what would be the ideal school situation for your child? If you could just wish, and anything could happen, what would it be? And I want to remind everybody that it's different for everyone, right? So I talk to parents and who will say, I need help with my IEP. I don't know what to go in and ask for. This is the first question I ask them, because if a parent is wanting for their child to be in a classroom that has an inclusive classroom that has children of different abilities and children who are neurotypical and neurotypically developing, that's a different discussion than the person who says, my kid has such sensory issues and he's bullied, and what I want is for him to get an education that's separate from social, all the things that get put on and all the sensory things that get put on. I just want him to be able to learn math. That's a much different conversation. It's a much different school day. It's a much different IEP that you sit down to, if depending on what you want. So what if you could wish? And I got to tell you, if you don't know the answer to this question, stop. Take a moment, because you're not going to even get close to it if you don't know what you're trying to get close to, right? You got to name it to claim it, right? Isn't that what Dr. Phil says? So write into us. Tell us what would be the ideal school situation. And obviously, ideal isn't available everywhere, just, popping out at you, but I think you'd be surprised. Once you know what I'd really like is this, it gets much easier to find because you know what you're looking for. All right, we always have a topic of the week as well. And our topic this week is, what are we teaching? I find that this is an important question to ask all the time. And I talk about on the show that we welcome everybody here, whether you are a parent, a teacher, a practitioner, you yourself are on the autism spectrum, or you're a family member. If you care about somebody or are somebody on the autism spectrum, we welcome you. And I think it's ideal for all of us, everybody that I just listed off, every once in a while to say, what are we teaching here? Because you can't teach everything at the same time. So for instance, if what you're trying to teach, I always go back to this example. If what you're trying to teach is social language, so you have, let's say you've got an 8th grader and you want them to be able to interact with their peers, right? By the way, teaching an 8th grader how to talk to their peers and the things to say to their peers is vastly different than if we were teaching a 1st grader, right? Much different. So what are we trying to teach? And not only that, if we're teaching an 8th grader how to talk to peers, that's going to look vastly different than teaching them how to talk to their teacher and their vice principal and their principal. Years ago, my son was in a social, and he wasn't in 8th grade. He was in a social language class that met during lunch, and there was a student teacher. And I don't think she was thinking, what are we teaching, right? Because he was there in the moment to learn how to talk to, I think they were in 2nd grade, how to talk to his peers in 2nd grade. And the teacher of the class that was normally there teaching, who had years of experience, was working on phrases and things for the kids to be able to say to each other. And at one point, the substitute teacher said to my son, we're going to play this game. And he said, we don't normally do that. We usually play this game. And she said, but we're going to play this game. And he said, well, why? And she said, because I said so. And my son said to the substitute teacher, well, that's lame. And she was incensed. It was not respectful. And I agree that it wasn't respectful. Of course it wasn't respectful. That's not how I want him to talk to a teacher at all. But he wasn't in a class of learning how to talk to teachers. He was in a class where he was learning how to talk to peers. And if he had said that to the peer, it would have been okay, right? And so my argument was they took away his stickers that he earns from proper speech to his peers. I was like, you can't do that. That's not, I mean, we can have a discussion with him and he can write an apology note to her. I'm not saying let it go, but you can't take away his stickers. Not when he earns stickers for speaking appropriately to a peer. We're not taking away stickers. And people were like, but we're shocked because normally you care about him being respectful. I do, absolutely, but that's not what we're teaching in this moment. And it's easy to get confused, you guys. So easy to get confused. So know what you're teaching. The horrible example, and I'm taking way too much time, Samantha. I have a friend whose nephew lit some fireworks in his mother's basement. Lit the fireworks and then realized, oh, this is bad and it's going to make a mess of this place that my mother just remodeled. And so he took his hands and covered the fireworks. This is a neurotypical kid who was like 11 and lost some fingers. And later on, when his mother had him in the hospital and was crying and said, why would you do that? And he said, because I knew you were going to be mad. And she said, this is what I taught him, that that your hands are less important than me being mad. And she taught him differently after that. We have to be careful. What are we teaching? What are we teaching? Especially when kids lie, super duper important. Ask yourself, what are you teaching and how you deal with it? Okay, moving on. We've got some great guests for you today. I mentioned that before. So in just a second, we've got Deidre King, who's coming to us from CARD in New York. So you're going to love that. She's amazing. Special Education Bonnie Yates is going to be with us in just a little while answering your questions. And then, oh my gosh, one of my favorite gal pals, Dina Kimmel, is going to be here in the studio with us. She is a powerhouse. She is the mom who started We Walk the Spectrum with one little gym that's now, we'll have to ask her how many there are now, but they're way international now and in many different countries. And she's got her second annual Rockin' the Spectrum event that's coming up in just 2 weekends, and they're having their first rock walk. But that's not even her big announcement. She has got a big new announcement, something that I think that you're going to enjoy, something that I'm a little bit involved with. So we'll look forward to that. I see Stella that Stella says we're currently in the middle of fighting with our school about the IEP and how it is being neglected. You know what? I'll tell you that IEP is a legal document, and once it's written down on the paper, they are responsible for it. And if they are not doing something that is written specifically into the IEP, shoot them an email and tell them, I am notifying you that you are not in compliance. And we'll talk with Bonnie about that in a little while. Deborah says, I find that I'm constantly having to remind the teachers that he even has an IEP. Yeah, that's typical. I know a mom, and I stole this from her because she would do this. She would take the IEP at the beginning of the year, and she would put it inside a sheet protector and put magnets on the back and give it as a gift to every single person who worked with their child so they could stick it to their filing cabinet, stick it, to the side of their desk. It's an uphill climb, you guys. But I'll tell you, when you've got it on the legal document, they're responsible for it. And if they don't do it, there's all kinds of recourse. So we're going to take a break. We're going to be back with Deidre King. But if you want to talk more about IEPs, Bonnie Yates is going to be answering more IEP questions a little later in the hour. Stick with us.
Hi guys, welcome back to Smarty. We're going to be working on identifying and labeling emotions. In February of last year, I know we did something super similar, but I promise you for this project it's going to be faster and easier because part of the project you'll be printing from our Facebook page at facebook.com/autism-live. Well, here's the rest of the materials you'll be needing. Templates, scissors, crayons, and tape. The first step you're going to do is print the template from facebook.com/autism-live. I have them right here, and I printed them double-sided. So now that I have all the pages printed out, I'm going to hand it off to my kiddo to have them color it in. So while they're coloring the face, you can of course work on identifying colors, labeling features, staying in the lines, and of course working on that pincer grasp. Once your child has finished coloring all the faces, you're going to take the pieces of paper and fold them in half. Once I have all the pages folded in half, I'm going to layer them together like a booklet. Now that I have them like this, I'm going to do is take my tape inside and kind of tape it together so they're bound together. If you have a stapler, you can do that too. Alright, now that this has been taped together, it looks like I have a book. So we're almost done with the project. All we need to do now is cut along the dotted line. Keep in mind, don't go all the way across to the edge or else it's going to be cut into thirds and it's not going to be a solid book anymore. The other thing in mind is, your kid can work on following a straight line while cutting, and if they can't do that, help them out. Alright, my booklet now has been cut up, and as you can see, I can now take a tab and flip it, and it'll change the look of the face. And what you can do is, ask your child how the emotion of the face changes based on what parts of the features you change. Well, I hope you had fun doing this activity with me, and until next time, craft on, guys.
Can you see me flying by your side?
Just a programming note, what you just saw for the Smarties, they are available as individual pictures in our photos. You have to scroll down a long way, but the other day, because somebody said, could you please just make me a PDF of all of them, I did. I'm going to give that to Samantha, and she's going to put it up on Facebook for you. It might be today or tomorrow. But if you want the picture so you can make the booklet, we're trying to make it easier for you guys to be able to find it. But if you're in a hurry, it is on our Facebook in the photos, but you have to scroll through 2 or 3 years to get to it. It is intensive. So we'll make it easier. But right now, I love this segment where we talk to an autism expert. Our expert today comes to us from New York, and she is a card expert. Deidre King is joining us. Deidre, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Is this your first time? I feel like I've interviewed you before, but is this your first time on Autism Live?
No, I have been on before.
Okay, I thought
not
so.
on this segment, but I've been on.
All right, fabulous. Well, let's start out, Deidre, by telling folks at home what you do at CARD, because it's wonderful.
Currently, I'm the regional manager of our greater New York area. So I oversee all of the centers in our New York and New Jersey area. And I'm also a BCBA, so I oversee all the clinical programs in New York, as well as the training and our administrative staff.
And you are somebody who, when we talk about experienced BCBAs, which we do all the time on the show, you're a very experienced BCBA. How long have you been at CARD?
I have been at CARD for 18 years.
That's
I started
experience.
at CARD as in my undergraduate, so that gives me some time there. And then I stayed through my master's programs, and then I'm still here now.
Well, what a gift you are to all the families that you have helped over the years and that you continue to help now. And thanks for being here to answer questions. I'm going to launch right in here to our first question. I'm a mom of a 2.5-year-old kid. We started ABA when he was 24 months old. He's making a lot of progress in the cognitive area, memory games, turn-taking games, but the areas he's not improving in are language and requesting things. We make him imitate us, but it's hit and miss. It's not consistent. What should we do, please? With his ABA therapy, I also work with him. He doesn't have any behaviors or repetitive behaviors anymore. He can identify all the categories, colors, shapes, body parts, nonverbal imitations. So please help me to know how I can make my son talk and repeat words on request. And she said again, please help me. What do you think?
This was a great one. I just want to applaud the parents for starting so early, being that this kiddo is only two and a half years and he already has a lot of great skills. What really stood out to me is that the nonverbal imitation piece, that was a strength for him. So what that is when someone does something like do this and you clap your hands, then the child imitates that. So the imitation is such an important skill. So what I would suggest, they work with their team on really focusing on the imitation skills to get the child to start requesting. So specifically, I would work on some oral imitation movements. So when the parent moves their mouth, then the child will imitate that movement, and then also go into sounds and words. The biggest thing is going to be trying to find the best approximations that the child can give. So for example, if the child is asking for the cookie, then we want to find out what is the best response that they can give. So right now, if they're able to say "ka" for cookie, then that will be what the correct response will be for cookie. So what they'll start to do is come up with a list of all of the best approximations that the child is giving, and then when they say that word or that sound, then they'll be able to get the desired item for the request. So that's called shaping. So I would do that throughout with all of the imitations for the motor movements of the mouth, and then also for sounds and words. The other big thing that stood out to me with this one is just that they had a lot of the prerequisite skills with knowing categories and colors and shapes and body parts. So what I would start to do is start being very consistent with what you're having for the response. So if it's going to be a point or the vocalization, just make sure that everybody's consistent with that. And then also start to add in some visuals for requesting. So this is usually known as the picture exchange communication system, but it doesn't have to be the formal text system. It could be any sort of picture or icon that they're exchanging to get what they want. My big thing would be just focusing so that the child really is able to get their requests met. So if they say they want a cookie and they exchange the picture of the cookie, then accept that as the child's words for now for the request, but then pair it with that language or the attempt of language. If we're all consistent and you have everyone consistent on your team, then the child's going to still be able to get their needs met and not be frustrated.
And just for parents who worry, because I've seen this with so many parents, and I was one of them, when we start to do something that is nonverbal to request something, a lot of times parents panic and think, oh no, we're giving up on that speech for requesting. But the studies don't bear that out, correct, Deidre?
Correct. Correct. And what I think the important part is that since they said they've already decreased a lot of the behaviors that might have once been a concern, you want to make sure that the child is able to communicate. So the research will show if it's easier for the child to request with the picture, they might use the picture, but then once they're able to use the vocalizations and that's easier for them, then they're going to start to vocalize.
Fabulous.
So once everybody's consistent, even if it's not the full phrase of I want to go outside and they just say out, then right now accept that as I want to go outside.
Wonderful.
And then you start to shape it up so it's a longer utterance.
Fabulous. I love there is a TED Talk that shows a typical child. They kept cameras in a house and showed a typical child how the word water shaped up over a year and a half for a typical child. It's fascinating, and they have it cut to, I think it's like 22 seconds, and you can listen to all of the approximations that child had to go through to say water. It really is eye-opening for an autism parent to go, oh, it's so okay to reward the approximation. We'll get there eventually. Love.
I would use a lot of visuals in the house and make sure that they have that written down. So if it's wa for water, everybody knows that that means water for now. And then that way the child can be successful. And then even the parent's going to feel good because they're going to see how it's moving on to say wa, then water.
Love it. Moving on to the next question here. How can I help my rigid 5-year-old at home? At home, it has to be the pink cup and plate and only eat preferred foods. She also washes her hands at school but forgets at home. I think she's in a rush to go and play. Sorry, this might be a few different issues, and thanks for your help. I love the show and look forward to it every week.
For this kiddo, what I would really focus on is targeting the flexibility and then generalization with different activities and the different objects. So for the pink cup, what I would start to do is start to mix up the cups so that eventually you're using a purple cup and then you're using a pink and blue cup, and then until you can get to the point where it's very flexible. But the main point here is going to be that they're going to have to provide a high level of reinforcement for being flexible. So sometimes I think we overlook that piece, but that's really what's going to be important. So the child knows if I accept this other cup or this new food, even if it's just a little bit different, then make sure they get some sort of high reinforcer so that they know that that's what is acceptable at that time. And again, you're going to start small. You might have a pink cup that has a little purple star on it. It's a little bit different for that generalization until you can get to the point where it's a different looking object or stimulus.
Okay.
So I think that would help them in that situation, but you really want to make sure you're praising them and giving them reinforcement for whatever that best approximation is before the behavior happens. So if it ends up being that the inflexibility leads to a lot of problem behaviors, what you're going to want to do is make sure that you're reinforcing them prior to the problem behavior. So for example, if she doesn't like the pink cup with the purple flower, then you're going to put the cup out in front of her and just have her like touch it, and then or take a sip. And then once she does that, then you'll reinforce her, and then you'll move on and give her back the other cup.
Okay. So maybe moving really slow, because I know that's hard for parents.
Yeah.
But it's the key to a lot of things, moving really slow.
Yeah, and I think just the other piece to this one I saw is just teaching a little bit more of the flexibility outside of the cup situation, or when that situation is hard. So like they can play games where maybe they take like an apple and we say, oh, this is an apple, and we pretend it's an apple. and then you switch and you say, oh, now we have a ball, but let's pretend the ball is an apple. So they can proactively work on flexibility throughout the day where it's not so challenging in that setting where the cup produces some more behaviors.
I love that. I love that. Thank you. And so, moving on to the last question. Good morning. My 8-year-old is an impulsive liar. What strategies can I use with him to start being honest? He usually lies when he made a bad choice and almost always calls his choice an accident, whether it's hitting someone, name calling, not doing something he was asked to do by an adult. His teacher has him write apology notes to classmates and teachers he has lied to, but he continues to lie to get out of bad situations. What would be a better consequence? He also loses recess when this happens, which he really needs. And she says, thank you very much.
Okay, for this one, I would really want to just make sure that they've done the FBA, so the behavior assessment, to find out what the actual function of the behavior is. So that's something that they should work with their team on to make sure that the consequences are in line with what the function is going to be. But what I was thinking as I was reading the scenario is that the current consequence right now of him losing recess or having to write the apology notes might be giving him too much attention for the behavior. And so he may not realize that what he's doing is wrong. So I think what they should do is put in some more proactive measures and actually teach them that it's okay if you do something wrong, and then to tell the truth. So the idea would be, if he bumps into somebody, he needs to be able to say that I hit my friend or I bumped into my friend, and then be rewarded for saying the right thing, because he may think that he should lie so that he's avoiding getting in trouble, whereas the consequence is actually what's worse than him actually telling the truth. So I think that that's what I would try with him, is teaching him that it's okay to be honest and to say what really happened, and work on what, like a truth, like the true and false thing, and then praise him for when he tells the right thing, even if it's not, if you praise him for telling the truth rather than just what he thinks we want to say. So how I would work on this with him is introducing social stories with him. So you can do social stories or the comic strip sentences, so that they see the consequence of what we're looking for, and then also role playing the situations.
I love this because our topic for today is thinking about what are we teaching, and this is a perfect example that if we are targeting that we don't want him to hit other people, there would be one intervention. But if what we're working on is to get him to not lie, if he hits a child and then admits that he does it, we might even give him some sort of break or reward or something for having told the truth. And I think it gets really sticky for people. They go, well, we're rewarding the hitting something, and it's got to be really clear in our minds what we're teaching, what we're trying to accomplish. And do you find that parents have a difficult time with that? Because I see it and I have a hard time with it.
Yeah, I think because it's easy for the child to say it was an accident. And if they say it was an accident, that's an easy response to get out of many situations. So if it's an accident, then, that situation, we move on. But I do think that is what it is because it's hard to kind of break it down into little components of what we're trying to teach. So I think if you just kind of take a step back and say, okay, what is it that he was trying to say? How can we teach that? And then look at the consequences and see if it's really matching what the behavior is. So I think that's where like the FBA definitely would come in handy. And I would just, my other point to this one would be just to really look and see if, the current consequence is increasing the behavior or decreasing the behavior. So then they would know to make modifications to that plan.
Yeah, because clearly writing the apology notes, while the teacher thinks it's effective, it's not working because the lying is continuing.
Right.
And the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. So,
right.
in any case,
so it's important to monitor and see if it's actually working or not.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being with us. I know
Thank
you've got
you.
kiddos to go back to, but thank you so much, and give our love to everybody there in New York.
All right. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. That was Deidre King, and she's the regional manager for CARD. As she was saying, for those New York offices, very experienced. What a pleasure it is to have her on the show as an expert in autism. We're going to take a short break, and then I don't know whether we're going to be back with Bonnie Yates or we're coming back to Bonnie. Okay, so stick with us.
I know a cute little blue-eyed boy, and his name is Jack. Jack Riley. He got a big, warm, blue-eyed soul that makes your heart beat fast.
That's so cool. Thanks, guys.
Over a year since he was diagnosed, and
10 months since he started ABA, and I don't think at the time we really understood that you can be happy, fun, and still have autism. We were at Disneyland trying new foods, and he's open-minded to it. Eating was a nightmare a year ago, and now it's not. Just in the last week, we've noticed like huge differences in what he was willing to try then versus what he's willing to try now.
You want to try pear? Can you kiss it for a piece of cookie? You want to kiss it? Yeah. Come here.
Up to a few months ago, you show the kid a banana and he would go nuts. He ate it every day, but he didn't want to know that he was eating it. And a week ago, he asked for it.
just ate it. Now he asks for him every day, and he has a banana. I don't know what changed, but it just did.
So good.
Oh, that's so good. I wouldn't have even considered giving him a chewable vitamin 6 months ago. And I just hand it to him now and say he's got a chomp, and he knows that he has to crunch down on it.
Good job.
We're ecstatic about his development. I don't wake up every morning anymore thinking I have a child with autism. I just think I have two great kids.
Say howdy, we say hi. Let's get rowdy, let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild.
Hi, welcome back to Autism Live. I'm Lisa Ackerman. We're here doing allergy-free cooking, and I brought my sister with me today.
Jamie Davis, thanks for having me.
A lot of people are asking about a allergy-free breakfast, and breakfast can be full of crap. You know,
but it's full of
cereal.
Crap, and it's hard to do. We
Yeah.
don't have time in the morning. We're in a hurry.
We're going completely nut-free. The recipe is not
Personality, we can't do anything
can't
about.
do anything about that. So we're going to start off first with, I'm using sorghum and brown rice flour. I find the texture good, and I've added some flaxseed meal. We talked about that last time, flaxseed meal for poop. Almost every one of our kids has a poop issue. What's next on the recipe is the quinoa flakes, baking powder, cinnamon, and the xanthan gum. It brings the glutinous texture back into the flour, and often what happens with these recipes is they can fall apart. This one holds up nicely. I like it. For the folks that are egg-free, we have a ton of egg replacers. One of those can be the arrowroot starch or bringing back some additional flax seeds. So there's a lot of options to go eggless, but we're gonna go egg full in this one. For sweetener, I use the maple syrup. I stay away from refined sugar. What I'm adding now is the coconut milk, maple syrup, and a little bit of the coconut oil. And we're gonna add in the raisins, craisins, and chocolate chips at the end. I find that chocolate chips can coax people to eat some really amazing things. When we started, Jeff had 42 food allergies, so we had to get creative in how we cooked. So nuts were a big, big issue. What I like now is that he can tolerate so many more things after start doing this diet. So let me show you how you can deal with this sticky stuff here. You get your fingers really wet, and you can push it down. So my oven has been preheated. It's at 350 degrees. So we're gonna just throw this in. Like I said, I like it around 23 minutes, and the magic oven says, I'm done. Looks like. Don't you love magic ovens? They're awesome. There we go, pops right out. The texture of these, and it's so pretty. It looks almost like a big chocolate chip cookie, but you actually made it healthy. But you can be my guinea pig. Tell me what you think.
That looks really good.
Doesn't it? So the textures and the colors in there are just beautiful. So the raisins are for you, the chocolate chips are for your kid.
I can't believe it's gluten-free.
I know, right? It doesn't taste like, you know, crap. We're wrapping up another cooking show. If you have feedback, you can email us at autismlive@gmail.com. We're, of course, on Facebook. You could go to facebook.com/autismlive. And of course, Talkin' Now has thousands of recipes. Join me there, and we can cook some more later on. So thanks for joining us.
You say howdy, we say hi. Let's get rowdy, let's get wild. Let's get wild.
Parent-to-parent token economies are a great way to get to good behavior with your child. So first of all, let's talk about what is a token economy. It's just a visual representation of reinforcement or a reward that's going to come later on for behavior that you've done now. So I've got a couple examples here of token economies that I want to show you. But one of the most important things to remember with a token economy is that it's essential that whatever the child is working for be meaningful to them. So here, this is a two-part token economy. I've got a list of things for the child to pick from, to pick what they want to work for. So the child would pick off the one they want, put it on their other token economy, and you can see it says, I'm working for a play date. What a great thing to work for. And as this child progresses through their day at school, every time they do a task and they do a good job, they're going to get a token to put on this token economy. And we've got a rule in place for them that says maybe you have to get 3 tokens in order to get that reward, which today is a play date. And as the child gets better, we're going to make it harder and harder. Maybe next week it's going to be 4 tokens to get the play date. This is another token economy here. This is a task completion token economy, so every time the child completes a task that there's a picture of, they can peel off a token and put it on to demonstrate that they have completed that task. Again, it's essential that they get a really wonderful, meaningful reward for having gotten these tokens. Using a token economy can be much simpler than this too, because you can download them to put a free app on any one of your devices. Right here on my phone, I've got a free app, Easy Kid Tokens, and when my child does a task and completes it, and he can specify what the stickers are. In this case, it is a ladybug, and when he gets 3 of them, then he's going to get his reward. This is a really simple way to take something with you when you're going on an outing and make sure that your child is staying on task and getting rewarded for the things that they do. It leads to good behavior. One of the most frightening things there is when your child wanders away or elopes. Welcome back. We are back without Bonnie Yates. She had a last-minute cancellation that I didn't see because I didn't have my phone in the studio because she had an emergency meeting. And, you know, it's the same deal that we have with Dr. Graham-Boucher. When a kid needs her, we defer, right? And say, that's all right, we'll go on without you, which gives me more time to answer questions from you guys. So Laura had written in and said, we're going to have my daughter assessed with the California Diagnostic Center next week. Do you have any experience or feedback on the California Diagnostic Center? She's 8 years old, in special ed, autism. We are hoping they can help us find out what else we can do in school to find the best learning environment. I have to be honest with you that I don't have personal experience with the California Diagnostic Center. So I can't weigh in, but I can tell you that I want to send you a hug and say congratulations, because a lot of times it's really hard to spend the money to go to get a diagnosis or to get a an outside opinion on where your child is. And I can't think of a single, I'm going through my mental Rolodex, I can't think of a single parent who has taken the time and the expense to do that hasn't seen a huge difference in the result of what happened at school, how things went at the IEP meeting, what they were able to get into the IEP, and the direction that the child's education took. So I hope that trend continues for you. And do me a favor, because now you will be the person who has experience with the California Diagnostic Center. When you're done, let us know. Maybe do a little review for us of how this went for you and what it meant. You can do it anonymously, or we can have you on the show. I would love to know, because we love it when people are able to give us information about something. And then somebody wrote in and said, what's your opinion about risperidone for a mild autistic 9-year-old boy with high aggressive behavior? And so here's, and please know, I didn't say this at the beginning, I almost always say it, I'm not an expert in autism. I'm a mom and a former educator. But I spend a lot of time with doctors who have tons of experience, and I have been a teacher for over 20 years, and I've been covering the subject of autism for 12 years. So from that realm, not being an expert, but I will tell you that what I hear is that some kids, it's necessary, but that it's a much smaller percentage of the than the kids that actually get on medications of these type. And what I would suggest to you as a parent is exhaust your other resources first. That with aggressive behavior, it's important that you get it under control, and the fact that he's 9, it's important that you get it under control now. I have seen tremendous progress made on these kinds of issues because it's a behavior when it's worked on behaviorally. It does mean that everybody on your team has to get on the same page. It means that you have to get special training so that you don't get hit while you're doing the intervention. It means that probably the teachers have to get trained. But I have seen that be very, very effective. Now, if you've already tried that and it has not worked and your child is in danger and the people that work with him are in danger, then I can absolutely see why. And as I said, there are children who do need to be on something like risperidone. But there are consequences to it that we see, especially in our young boys, that it develops breasts on them. And that there can be other consequences to it as well. Sometimes the kids kind of, they get apathetic and flatline and aren't as interested in learning, and that there's a personality change. So, those things are, I think, big enough that if you can do something else and it works, you really should give that the college try. However, they're not so big and so life-threatening that if there are life-threatening issues that you wouldn't say, hey, well, I don't love these after effects, maybe it's worthwhile. So I think it's a really personal choice, but I would really encourage you to try everything that you possibly can first. Get good ABA, and you might need cognitive behavioral therapy too, but start with ABA because they're going to look at that challenging behavior, and they're the people who are really effective in dealing with challenging behavior. Now, Deborah has written in, because I'd read her comment, the other comment earlier about the fact that, well, let me go back and read it. Deborah had said, I'm finding constantly having to remind the teachers he even has an IEP, but before that she wrote and said, our school denies my son is autistic based on their testing, even though I have a diagnosis from 2 different doctors. And that, we talked about that a little bit last week, but I think we're going to see more of that. I wish we weren't, but I think we are going to see more of that. And it's really important that, you're always having to weigh things when you want to fight, right? Because you can't fight everything. And I know sometimes as an autism parent, it feels like that's all it is a fight, because you're having to fight with the insurance company, and you're having to fight with the school to get these services, and then you're having to fight with your family about, you know, do we do this or we do that, and there's fight, right? And it's rough. It's really, really rough. And every once in a while, you have to stop and ask yourself, what's worth fighting for here? And even if something's worth fighting for, do I have what I need to be able to fight and be effective? Because if your health is failing, or if it requires a financial commitment that you don't have, you got to pick your battles, is what I'm saying, right? But if you do have 2 doctors that are saying that your child has autism and the school is saying that you don't, and if you are in good health and you have the ability yourself to fight it, or you have the means to be able to pull in a lawyer or an advocate to work with you, I have to say it makes it so much easier for everybody coming after you, because when you stand up and fight because you have a case, if you've got 2 independent doctors saying that your child has autism and the school is saying he doesn't, that's a good case. I would check out a COPA lawyer and let them know and see if they would take a pro bono to fight with you, or take it on contingency to fight with you, because that's a good case. And when we have good cases that get carried forward, it sets a precedence, because just you saying, I'm going to fight you on this, they have to retain a lawyer. That costs money. And they're also weighing things about which battles do we choose. And I see it, I saw it as a teacher, that sometimes, you know, they'll put forth something, and if the parent says, okay, they go, well, great, then let's move on ahead. And it puts them in a mode of, we know what we're doing, and we're just going to tell the parents what it's going to be. And they kind of roll over parents. And it's important that we don't allow them to get too cushy comfortable with that. So I encourage you, check out COPA, COPAA.net, and see if you can find an advocate that'll take that. Sarge says, my 9-year-old severely autistic daughter takes risperidone along with some other meds, and it works. Her extreme aggressive behavior has dropped significantly. And then she went on to say, but the best thing so far has been our luck to get an ABA with hand in hand with her meds, and it's allowing her daughter to have a better life. I love that. And I did say, you know, for some kids, it is necessary. I will be honest that I think it is easier for, there's so many things that are harder for families that have a daughter that's on the autism spectrum. But let's face it, when one of the big side effects is breast development, you know, that can be so detrimental to a young boy. So it becomes a different argument based on the sexes, whereas not that anybody wants an overdeveloped young girl, but it doesn't have the same psychological effects on them as it would for a young boy. And I love that you do an AVA in conjunction, because a lot of people think, oh, we're doing risperidone, that's enough, and doing them together, very, very wise. Love that. And Erica says, how do you treat echolalia? You know, we've had lots of experts on the show talking about how do you treat echolalia, and I know, even though we don't have our new website up, I had recently Googled this, not Googled it, I had searched it on our YouTube channel, and a bunch of different videos came up with a bunch of different experts. So I want to point you to that, Erica. Check that out. If you go to our YouTube page, which is youtube.com/autism-live, you can find all the videos we've ever done, and it's a treasure trove. It really is. It is not as search friendly as I want it to be, which is why we're doing a retool on the website. And then, oh my gosh, it's going to be easy right from our website to be able to search all of those YouTube videos. But I do know that if you put in echolalia, you will be able to find videos. It's not an easy thing to counteract, but they've got very effective strategies that help over time. It is one of those things that can make you crazy, especially if your child is repetitive and will say something over and over and over again. But check that out to see. And I think we're going to take a short break. I don't know that I got to absolutely everybody's questions yet. But we are going to take a short break, and then we're going to be back in just a little while too. We're going to come back with our mindfulness moment and our autism in the classroom moment, and then we are going to have Dina Kimmel from We Rock the Spectrum. So stick with us. Don't go away. Talk to us a little bit about what your degree is in.
City planning or urban planning.
I got it from Cal State Northridge with a degree in cinema and television arts with an emphasis in screenwriting.
And what are you interested in, Eli?
A video game internship.
Computer programming.
I'm hoping to combine entertainment and travel, my two passions.
Ooh, what kind of jobs have you worked?
Bakery inventory.
Okay, inventory.
Want to talk about your volunteer job?
To help the soldiers.
You volunteered to help the soldiers?
Yes. I interned in the national parks in the Santa Monica Mountains, which is very urban area. So I worked with the problems of how it's impacting the surrounding community, like the flow of traffic and the flow of people and what they could do to plan in the parking.
I've been to China. I've been all around Europe. I've been to Thailand, Japan, Australia.
You can create an app? That's impressive. Really cool thing. Can you teach other people how to make an app? If you have a choice between working or not working,
Working.
You like working.
Yes.
Why? What do you like about working?
It is fun.
I would work.
Yeah? You would choose work? Why?
Because I have skill on that. Get paid and enjoy it, and want to make sure I have enough money so I can save it.
Why do you need to have a full-time job? I mean, it's kind of like a duh thing, right?
No, obviously, so I can support myself
Right.
and hopefully a family down the line, but at least at first, myself.
I'm very dependable and always reliable and get to my job on time.
What excites you about working a job or being an intern?
Learning new skills.
Yeah. What has it meant to you having this job and having the stability of a job that you've had for multiple years?
It's meant the world because I'm able to do almost everything I wanted to do because of that job.
We love Autism Works now. How much do we love them? And I'll tell you, there are different words that resonate for me at different times. And the one that's really been with me, I know that a big word for Dr. Grampuchet is grace. And I'm always trying to get to grace. I don't know that I know grace yet, that I know what it looks like when it arrives. I see it on her, but I don't know what it feels like. But I'll tell you the word that's been with me the last couple of months is dignity. The dignity that is owed to every individual, every person, and the dignity of those young people in those interviews talking about the fact that they want to work. So often I think people think that the younger generation, what they want to do is be buried in their phones. And to hear these young people on the autism spectrum talk about how badly they want to work, there's just so much dignity in that. And it's like inescapable for me. So I absolutely love that. And I want to thank Samantha for putting that together, the little clips, so that you get to see the dignity. All right, it is time for our mindfulness moment of the week. And you know that I love this because the stress for everybody in the autism community is significant, right? I mean, do we want to compare it to other people? I know other people have stress. I don't want to compare it to anybody. It's significant. It's measurable. People have measured it. And the stress gets in the way of everything. And we know that mindfulness is something that can mitigate it, that maybe it doesn't take it completely away, but it puts it in a manageable category. So that's why it's so important to me that we talk about mindfulness. And when you're mindful, I know for me, when I am mindful, that's when joy shows up. And so often for me, I'm a creative person, so I'm always in my own little world creating and thinking, what do we want to do on the show next, or what do I want to do about this, or whatever, right? And that's not being in the present. That's not really being mindful. It's joyous too in terms of being creative. I like that process, but I find for myself, I only want to speak for myself, I'm either living in that creative or living in the future thinking I can't wait until this happens, or I tend to recede back to the past and think about this and, oh, I wished I'd done that, or remember when that happened, right? But I'm always mindful about the fact that true joy only happens in the present. And that's what being mindful is about, is being in the present. So that's going to sound a little weird with today's topic, because today's topic, I'm talking a little bit about creating stories in your head, because we already do, right? We create stories that, oh, you know, I can't do this because, and then we can all fill in the blank, or that person doesn't like me because, or I don't deserve to have this because, right? These stories that, like old tapes, old cassette tapes that run in our head that dictate how we feel about ourselves, which then becomes what we project out into the world. And one of the things that has been very popular with our kiddos on the spectrum is creating socially significant stories for them. So if we have a kiddo who's going to be having anxiety about something, we might create a little storybook, and maybe it's only 5 pages long, but it's just like a regular book. We can create it on an iPad if we want to. There are programs to be able to do that. But a lot of people just take construction paper and put it together and say, so, you know, here's the story. And the starring character of the story is the person that we want to help with stress, right? So if it's your 4-year-old who's on the autism spectrum, that's the star of the story. If it's you because you're having stress at work, or you're having stress about your child's autism, you're the star of the story. But we create the story, and it sounds ridiculous, but it's not. There's nothing ridiculous about it, because it plants the seeds of everything is possible. So let's say that we've got a 4-year-old who's going to go off to kindergarten in 6 months, and we're having anxiety about it, right? So we put together a storybook for the 4-year-old about, and let's say that the 4-year-old's name is Joey, and we call it Joey Goes to Kindergarten, right? And we sit down, and once a day we read through the story, and there's either drawings that you and Joey do together, or there's pictures that you cut out of a magazine, or pictures that you have of Joey. But it says, you know, Joey is a wonderful little boy, and he is going to kindergarten. And he is so excited because he's going to get to finger paint, and he's going to make friends, and he's going to have a great teacher. And when he gets picked up at the end of the day, mom is going to be there and give him a hug, and he's going to get to go home and play, right? Whatever the story is. But we sit and we read that story, and we read it to Joey once a day for 6 months before kindergarten. How do you think kindergarten is going to go for Joey? And is it different than if Joey hadn't heard that story every day for 6 months? I guarantee you he's going to be excited about going to kindergarten. And that may not be the only emotion he feels, but at least a part of him is going to be excited because the story said he's excited. And he's going to look forward to the finger painting because the story said there was going to be finger painting, and he was excited about it. And he's going to know that mom's going to pick him up and give him a hug, and he's going to get to play because he heard it over and over and over again. If somebody tells you that you are worthless, and believe me, we all know somebody that had that as a child, that they were told that they were worthless. Oh my gosh, as a teacher, it would break my heart, right? The kid who comes in and just hangs their head, and they've been told by somebody at home that they're worthless, and so they own it because they've heard it a million times. And it takes a lot to be able to say to them, you're fabulous, on a regular basis, to try to erase all those little times that they were told that they were worthless. But you know what? It works. It works. It really does. And we can do this for ourselves. So if there's something you're facing, if there's something that's giving you anxiety or something in the future that you're afraid of, take a minute. And you can do it on a little piece of paper. You can do it on just one Post-it. Draw yourself a picture of it, but put some language to it. Make yourself the star of your story. Create that socially significant story about how successful you are. We've talked before on the show, and I love on Grey's Anatomy that they really do this. There was a study that showed that certain poses, I'm trying to do the Superman pose at the moment, standing like this with your arms on your hips and putting your chest out like Superman stands, right? If you stand this way for 2 minutes, you will perform better at whatever it is that you're about to do. Surgeons do this before surgery. That's how you see it on Grey's Anatomy. And there are a couple of other poses too that they do. One where your arms are up over your head and it's like you're flying, and one when you have your arms behind your head and you put your feet up on your desk. And that's supposed to be like you're the boss, right? I don't like those. Those don't work as well for me, but the Superman pose, man, sometimes I do that in the elevator on the way up here to the studio, and it's not a full 2 minutes, but I feel better. I feel like, man, I can do stuff. So utilize it. Tell yourself the story that you want to star in. Make it a reality. Make it part of your day. Make it something that you look at and go, yeah. Because the truth is, I know that you can do all kinds of things that maybe you've been telling yourself that you can't. And I'm here to tell you that you can. And now you can tell yourself that you can many times a day. Use this with your kiddos. Use it with yourself. It will help you in the moment to feel more capable, right? When you're in the story, you're not quite in the moment, but in the moment, it makes you more available to good things. I love, love, love that. So that's our mindfulness moment. We're going to take a break. We'll see if Dean is here. If she is, we're going to bring her in. If not, we're going to come back and do our autism in the classroom moment. So stick with us.
When Maddie was diagnosed, I'll be honest, I was very ignorant on what autism was. I knew that autism was basically something that hit boys at the age of 2 to 3 and shut down. And with Maddie, she was doing all the same signs and symptoms of a typical child with autism spectrum disorder.
Stand up.
I was thinking that we might be moving somewhere so that people could assist us either in the house or us going to see our daughter, because she was shutting down to a point that she wouldn't even recognize you being there by putting your hand in her face and yelling her name.
She didn't even acknowledge us coming into the room. She had barely any eye contact. She didn't interact with her sisters. She didn't really do anything. She just basically lined up her toys and that was about it. With 8 volunteers, including my husband and I'm the team leader, and so I do all the curriculum and get everything ready each week.
Jana was downstairs until 11 o'clock at night working on curriculum, going through 2 different textbooks.
Look, who's that?
And then we, as a group, meet on Monday nights, and we would go through what the curriculum was from Jana. And a lot of times we would go, well, how exactly do you do that? How do you sit her at the table and do this trial-based? With what skills has done for us, it's taken that away from Jana trying to figure out the curriculum for one. She can go down, or even our laptop, and she can sit down and through all these questions, it comes up with the different programs.
At least for me, it was a relief off my shoulders. I was worried that I might be missing a curriculum that maybe she needs to know, where the skills, they have every possible thing your child needs to know from 0 to 7. They have a program for that.
What noise is this?
Good job!
Every program that we did with her, I knew was specific for what she needed to learn. Because before skills, it was a lot of, okay, well, is that really age appropriate for a 2-year-old? You know, because it's not generalized. It's anywhere from 0 to 7. This is what your child needs to know in most manuals you'll find. But for this, okay, yep, she should be learning this. And no, she's not 4 yet. She doesn't need to know that yet.
We are so fortunate that Jana was able to attend a conference put on by CARD that opened the door for skills and that there's no looking back for us.
We started using the program in November, and it seemed like by January something just clicked, and she has completely kind of came out of her fog that she was in for quite a while.
I have never read a documented case on any child that has not benefited anything from applied behavior analysis, and now with this new skills and being, you know, like the E version of ABA, I can't imagine that it doing anything harmful to their child. It's nothing but exponential growth for us.
To see her now, it just blows us away. I mean, we call her our little miracle child because in 7 months' time, she has just blossomed into this normal, functioning child.
She is developing roundly. She is socializing. She's playing with her peers. She's learning from her peers. It's very joyous.
Maddie, can you tell me what you see outside?
Snow.
Snow?
If you're even thinking about doing it, do it. Because the absolute worst thing you can do is do nothing at all. And even if you use this program and it's just a single mom or a single dad working in the evenings with their child, this program is going to benefit them. It's going to show you where they are, it's going to show you where they need to go, and it's going to show you what skills and how to get there. It is an online book on how to help recover your child.
We have so many questions that came in that I want to address, so we're going to hold off on the autism in the classroom. And we're still going to have Dina Kimmel here in just a few minutes, but it was still early for her to be on. So, hello, Shannon. Is a lack of sufficient iodine during pregnancy contributory to developing autism? And thanks. I have no knowledge of that. And let's remember that I'm not an expert, but I hear a lot of things. I have not heard that. That doesn't mean that it isn't possible, but I have not heard that. So I don't know. Next one, my son is 4 and only wants to make a long line with his toys and then look at them from different angles. He gets very upset if you move any of the toys. How do I get him to play the right way with them? So I'm hoping that this 4-year-old is having ABA, and if this 4-year-old isn't, then I want to encourage you right now. You know, we have to figure out a way for him to get ABA. If you've got insurance coverage, and you probably do, you may not even know it, but you probably do, then let's do it through the insurance because that's the easiest way to do it. If you absolutely know and you've exhausted, you don't have a funding source through your state or through your country or through, you know, your insurance, then I want to encourage you to get skills and get IBT because there's a whole bunch of lessons we want to teach him how to appropriately play. But right now, I want to send you to on our YouTube page. Watch the A Word because there is an episode in which this exact same thing happens with Jack Riley. That he lays on his side because he wants to look at his cars and look at the wheels. It's very common with our kids. My son did the same thing. And the therapist, Jessica, doesn't allow him to lay down. She keeps sitting him up. And eventually he has a meltdown and he cries for 20 minutes and it's very hard on the mom. It's like one of the first episodes. I want to say it's like the 3rd or 4th episode. But Jessica gives you a really good description of why it's not a good idea to just let it go because they won't be able to play with other peers. They're going to miss lessons. They're going to miss things with their eyes if we continue to have this happen. But you've got to be teaching the appropriate ways and it's got to be reinforcing for them to play. All of that curriculum is available, skillsforautism.com, but check out, what happens in the A Word so that you'll be able to see it and realize, okay, this child had it just like mine, and then you can fast forward ahead and see Jack Riley playing with other kids and know that it's possible, that you can get there. But it's not the autism fairy's not going to come in and make it happen in the middle of the night. There's some steps that have to be taken, and it's going to be so much easier for you if you have an ABA team to help you. Write to me if you want more. Okay, somebody says how to deal with rigidity so severe that it leads to high anxiety and explosive meltdowns. We're still working through skills and working on language heavily as I feel that even though, oh, my battery's going to die. Both of my kids are verbal but don't say much. The aggression with my daughter has gotten so severe that our pediatrician has started her on the Risperdal 0.25 milligrams a day. I know this won't fix the problem, but most days, even simply talking to her sends her over the edge, and she can't tell me why. Recently, she has bit me to the point that it's literally taken chunks out of my arms. Both times it's occurred, it's because she is in a rigid routine and I've attempted to stop the routine. No matter what, I make sure I follow through, but it ends me in being bit, and after she can't remember she did it. She will look at my arm and ask what happened. My son is also rigid but doesn't show aggression when I try and work on flexibility, just gets sad. Any advice is appreciated from our West Virginia mom. And I would love to have an expert look at that as well. But I will tell you, when you're getting issues with rigidity and then she's not remembering them afterwards, I think we got to look at some other things. And maybe it becomes a discussion with a doctor that has a little different, because not remembering it, that's the part that has me concerned, okay? And we just had Deidre King talk about how to deal with rigidity, and you got to move super duper slow. And I see you say, I follow through no matter what, but remember, don't start something that you don't want to follow through, right? And the other thing is that you got to learn how to block the bite, because you can't have a chunk taken out of your arm. So maybe call me and we can work through a couple of different things, because it's difficult learning how to block, but you've got to start to recognize when she's about to blow and know what to do and what stance to take. So, and it might be that you got to wear long sleeve things for a while so that she's not getting access. Because what happens is they may bite out of frustration the first time, but then they see, ooh, I got my way, or ooh, I got a reaction, or ooh, you know, I got something for the bites. And we have to take that part away. So write to me. Let's figure out. Okay, and my email is s.penrod@autism-live.com, and then we can have a more specific dialogue. But here's the question that I really wanted to get to. Hi there, we're waiting for a diagnosis for my 2-year-old, but in the meantime, she has several challenging behaviors I'm trying to work on. And I'm just going to say, for anybody that has little ones in the room, it's about to get, you know, we're going to be talking about things that are sensitive in nature. So I'm giving you a couple of seconds here to either turn off and come back later or get people out of the room. She says the first one is touchy because she's constantly masturbating. We're trying to get her to rub her belly button instead. So we redirect her every time to her belly button. Do you have any other suggestions? Also, she will walk with her hands under her armpits all day if she has on a sleeveless or short sleeve shirt. She will not do it if it's a long sleeve shirt. I can't find a replacement behavior, so we're having to put her in long sleeve to block it, but it's Florida and it's hot. And do you have any suggestions? Okay, so we always talk about the function of a behavior. And you know, what is the function of the behavior and what are they getting from it? And there are different ways. Once we've done an FBA to see, okay, why is this behavior happening? There's different ways of dealing with things, and that replacement behavior is one of them that you're talking about. But always when we're looking at things behaviorally, the first question that we really have to ask ourselves for things that are really challenging is there a medical component? And just like with the last question, I said, you know, there might be more going on, because the fact that she doesn't remember, there could be a medical reason for what's happening. And we need to make sure with this little one that medically there's nothing else going on. You know, some children have issues that, I mean, there could be a yeast infection that is making things itch, and that is why she is down there doing what she's doing. It could, some kids have underdeveloped bladder and urethra equipment, and it can tickle or burn or do, so we need to rule all of that stuff out first. I know that immediately our head goes, okay, she's doing it because she likes the way that it feels, but what if it's something else? What if there is, you know, an infection or something else? So please go and check on that first. But then, you know, you've clearly outlined that with the, let's start with the hands underneath the arms, right? That if we know that it only happens when there is bare skin there. There's something reinforcing for her about there being hands, underarms, bare skin that isn't there when she's got a shirt on. And I understand that it's hot in Florida, but my question is, does she do it if it's not sleeveless but short sleeves? Like, you know, do a little test and see, does it happen in that circumstance? What happens if right now there's that meshy kind of material that's got the holes in it that, in fact, the shirt that I've got on right now is very meshy, right? So it's very breathable. If she's in a short sleeve shirt that's mesh, does she still get the reinforcer for doing the hands? So I would do a little bit of Sherlock Holmes on that. To see, you know, play around with some different ideas, because if one of those works, you know, you want, I'm sure the other thing is of more pressing importance right now, and if you can do a fix on the shirt for the moment, eventually you're going to want a deal on this, and then probably you want to give her something so that she can't do this at the same time, like maybe it's a stuffed toy. I don't know, 2-year-old, so she's not writing yet. But if there's something that she can only hold that she really loves, it's hard to hold something and stick your hands under your arms at the same time, right? It's got to be really, really reinforcing. For when we have kids that want to touch themselves inappropriately at inappropriate times, right? Sometimes after you've made sure that the medical is taken care of, sometimes making the access to it or muffling the access to it can be enough. That sometimes there are boys who want to stick their hands down into their pants in school, right? And we can't really have that. That prevents a whole lot of other things, right? So what we do is sometimes put the boys in overalls, so it makes it harder. And if they're snug enough, not cutting off circulation, but snug enough that it's hard to get down into there because you got to come from up here, it makes it less reinforcing, right? Well, you can do the same thing with girls. I mean, you know, there's putting on layers, because then you're muffling. And if it's not trying to be mean or rude, but if she's got a fabulous skirt that's really reinforcing and she's got one of those crinoline things that goes underneath, not going to be able to have the same sensation from putting the hand there. But please, 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 please check and make sure that it's not a medical issue, because she might be in pain or it might be itching, and you know, that could make you really uncomfortable. All right, we have to go now, take a break, because we got Dina Kimmel here, and I'm so excited to welcome her into the studio. But please write back for more information as well about any of those questions. Stick with us. We're going to be right back after these messages.
Love is a battlefield. Autism and PTSD for parents. It's a thing. I'm here to tell you it's survivable. What you need to do is remember, this is not for the faint of heart. There's actually a study that was done on mothers of children with autism, and it said, oh, this is very similar to PTSD among soldiers. And we're like, we needed a study for that. We already knew this. However, you got to remember that stress is very important, not only because it's just stress that we're all dealing with, part of the modern day life. It can have serious effects. Not only does it affect your child, your spouse, other members of your family, it also affects your health. The stress is linked to immune system conditions, which can be creating conditions like risk for cancer, heart attack, stroke, anxiety, social isolation, which also depresses your immune system further, and even, girls, listen to this, hair loss. How do we handle this kind of chronic battlefield condition? Well, we have to do what generals do. We get the troops together, we demand support, we push for what we need. So when you go into your meeting with the schools, be sure and you have people with you, because it can be very difficult if you don't have someone with you to help you. Get letters from the doctors, get your evaluations, do what you need to do to get what you can for your child, because that ends up making your stress less. Over the years, as you deal with this kind of stress, remember, it can be your friend because it can tell you things need to change. It can also be your enemy because it can create a lot of bad conditions. The moral of the story is, don't be too strong for too long.
A lot of adults don't really believe kids. They'll think, kids are kids, what are they talking about? But when a child stands up for what they believe in, it's so strong and powerful. I first got involved with autism advocacy 4 years ago when my friend was diagnosed. When I found out about my friend's diagnosis, I didn't really understand what it meant. But it didn't matter to me or change our friendship. I didn't look at her any differently. We still had so much fun together. Now I know that she experiences life a little differently than me, and that's okay. Knowing what she goes through has helped me to understand and be more caring towards other people in similar situations. I got involved with ACT Today because I wanted to do whatever I could to help. They provide options like behavioral therapy, medical care, social skills programs, assistance to military families, and much more. Being there for my friend was my #1 priority. I've been volunteering and spreading the word about the cause via my social media platform, because raising awareness is a crucial first step. There needs to be more kids and teens involved to make sure that our voices are heard just as loudly as the adults. You may be small like me, but your acts of kindness are not.
Inclusion is everything. Feeling like we have a place where we belong, and when I say we, I'm first and foremost a mother of a child on the spectrum and gym owner and now founder of carrying this to families who need it as well.
My son is extremely hyperactive. Getting him to calm down is a very difficult task. So the idea of Rock the Spectrum Gym, where he could just go and run and play and do all these fun things without any kind of worries and just go, go, go and bring down that energy, it helps us so much at home. You know, in the home or at school, it's not acceptable, but this is the one place it is acceptable for the child to kind of be themselves and get it all out there and just really just be themselves.
It's an amazing place where my son could go and be himself. You get to meet other parents who are in the same journey as you are.
I think the most popular aspect of it is how they include all children of all types, not just only learning disabled, lower functioning, moderate functioning, high functioning, and non-disabled.
The people there are so friendly. Everybody's like family. They always greet you with a smile. There's not one negative thing I could say about any of the employees. They're all absolutely amazing. So I think every parent should walk in through those doors and see what an amazing gym it is.
Now a diagnosis being 1 out of 6 kids are in some way or form affected with sensory processing disorder or autism. That's why We Rock Now is on the rise. People want to be a part of it. People know that they have a community there. They know that they can learn more information about things that they don't know themselves or that they can share, build friendships, and basically get what you get in an OT facility, but it's not $150 an hour. It's $12.
Welcome back. We were just loving and admiring that commercial that was made by an intern that we had here. I've got with me in the studio the grand lady of it all. I just love it when she's here. I literally have goosebumps. How fun is that? Dina Kimmel is here with me, and you're looking lovely.
Thank you for having me.
And, well, are you kidding me? It's always a treat when you're here. For people who've never seen you before on the show, you are the brilliant genius, the mastermind, not evil at all, but the mastermind behind We Rock the Spectrum. And it has grown and grown and grown, and you have more things to talk about. But before we get into all that, you've got an event that's happening in 2 weeks. It's actually a week from Saturday.
It's a week
so
from
not
Saturday.
Even 2 weeks away.
I know. Really, the team we met and we're like, okay, wait, Saturday? That's a week and 2 days away. It's unbelievable. It's our second annual Rock and Resource Fair, and we're having a walk this year too, the Rock Walk and Rock and Resource Fair. A lot of ours in there, and we're so excited. I mean, the signups are now over 1,000, and the people who sign up, there's still always another 500 that seem to come.
Yes.
So it's going to be quadruple this year. I mean, we put it together in 6 weeks last year, and this year we really took the time and we reached out to the public, and we've got 50 vendors that are going to be there. And we've got creepy creatures. What is it? I still don't understand what it is about our kiddos, though, but they love the animals and the tarantulas and the lizards. I mean, I won't go near them, but yet my son will have this big iguana on his neck.
Wow.
I don't know. So they're amazing. They're coming again this year. And we've got, the conductors again playing, and then we've got a great band that's playing. It's a kid band.
Okay.
And it just is ironic. The woman who son is in the band, her son's high functioning on the spectrum. We don't like using that term, obviously high functioning, but he's completely verbal and loves music, and he plays the keyboards, and they have a band, and they're going to be playing there this year. I'm so excited. I know.
That's
I love it. I love it.
And I'm excited because it's the first time I get to come, because last time I was in Arizona in a tsunami and didn't get to be there.
Right.
I totally was.
Oh.
And I was bummed out that I didn't get to be there, but I heard it was fabulous last year, and this year I get to be there. And I'm really excited to be there and covering it for Autism Live. And I'm going to have an intern with me, and my son's going to be with me, and we're going to have a really good time. So one of the things that we have to talk about with this is that it is free to all. And that's a very important thing. And I want to thank you for that, because that is not the case with everything going on in the month of April. But this is free to all. There's a resource fair for people to be there, to have fun, but to connect. Because that's what we all need to do. We all need information, and sometimes you just got to have it face to face. And sometimes you have to be able to see other people going through it at different phases to go, okay, I can survive this too, and I'm okay, and my kid is okay, and it's all going to be okay.
And that's exactly what this is for, because I'll never forget my first event that I went to, and it was a lifesaver for me.
Right.
I mean, I thought I was all alone. All of a sudden I'm looking around, and there's thousands of people around me offering me support. And I think about that, and I think, oh my gosh, okay, we have to create an event like that. Again, like I said, we want it to be free to the community so that everyone can attend, but also be able to have. What's unique about the Rock and Resource Fair is it has the space for the kids. So we have different zones, okay? It's arts and crafts zone, we have a calming zone, we have the sensory zone, which is our Re-Rock on wheels, and we have Orlando on the drums, and then we have, of course, the resource booth, and then we have our music zone, and then we have our food zone. We've got food trucks there, and everyone has been so generous, donating, it's been incredible. And we have 50 vendors there this year. I can't believe it. It's incredible. And they keep coming in, and we're like, we're full. I can't believe this year we could say we're full.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but exactly what you said. The point is that I feel like us autism parents, forget about Re-Rock, forget about anything that we're doing. It's hard to bring our kids out there. It's hard for us to go out and do anything. But if we know that there's other people out there, there's things that our kids can do while we talk to other people to make those connections for resources, that's what it's all about.
That is what it's all about. And that's happening because you put your foot down and said, we have to have something like this. So I love and respect you for doing this. It's happening on the 21st. We've got the flyer up there. If you are in the Los Angeles area, the place that it is at Woodley Park, which is in Van Nuys.
Woodley Park 2.
Woodley Park 2. I didn't know that there were two. So Woodley Park 2. And what are the hours again?
It is from 9 to 1. You're not
Okay.
going to miss it. We're going to have obviously signs and balloons and things everywhere. And I must say this year I'm a little excited that it's at Woodley too, because there's a lot, more shade, the trees.
Yes.
Remember last year we did it in July, everyone. Oh, we're sorry about that, by the way. This year it will be much cooler. It's going to be like, I think in the 70s, so we're thrilled. Everyone was just sweating. We were, fanning ourselves the whole time, giving each other water. But we're really excited. It's very shaded. It's a much more intimate area. I mean, it's obviously going to be a large event, but the parks there are beautiful. I just love being there. And the parking is great. Like I said, everything is free. You don't have to pay for it. We're also, giving out food. There's things if you want to purchase, but really this is just a free resource for everyone.
Love it. Love, love, love. And if they have questions, best place to go is probably to the We Rock the Spectrum website,
Yes,
you think?
go to, to email us directly.
Okay.
Okay. Grace is actually the project manager for this event.
Okay.
So that's Grace at WRTSfranchise.com.
Okay,
Or everyone can email us directly. from our site.
WRTS, which stands for We Rock the Spectrum. Much more to talk about. How about if we take a short little break?
Wonderful.
And then you've got something that you've recently unveiled that I think everybody's going to want to hear about. So stick with us. Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod, and we're at the ABCs and XYZs of Special Needs Conference. And this year, for the first time, they've got something really remarkable. It's the Entrepreneurial Boutique. These are all items that have been made and are being sold by individuals who have special needs. So we're going to do a little shopping and talk to some of these fabulous entrepreneurs. Come on.
My name is Molly Rarick, and I'm founder of Breed's Gift. We're a nonprofit that serves teens and adults with special needs, like Chase here. We were founded in 2013 and serve people in the Conejo Valley, Santa Barbara, and LA.
Our main objective is to give our participants the skills they need to gain a more independent life.
My name is Shelley Cox, and Lisa Zalagi and I are founders of Creative Steps and Create Micro Business Enterprises. And the items that we're selling here today are all made by the clients who have passions about what they want to make, and then they get the profits from what they make after we've paid all of the other expenses.
We are here today because my goal is to be independent, and also I would like to share all my artwork, and I would like to sell.
Thinking about at his young age being a businessman, it's amazing. I cannot be more proud.
Poor Samantha's having to get a hook because when Dina and I get together, there's so much to talk about. She's like, we're coming back. And I'm not listening at all because I'm so into talking to Dina. But Dina has got something pretty big that she has recently debuted that I think is a wonderful, wonderful gift to the autism community. Talk to us about Rockin' the Spectrum.
Well, what I found out is just being a gym owner, of course, starting out as a gym owner and then, becoming a franchisor. The hardest thing that myself and my gym owners will say is devoting, and of all this because we've spoken about it, how we can't devote all the time that the public needs to us just for help. Well, what would you do, Shannon, for this? Or Dina, what would you do for this? So there we are, we're in our gym, we're trying to, tend to the community, the public, and then we have that parent who needs us to sit down and give her that time. And you know what? She needs it.
Yeah.
She needs it. And our locations are the place where, they can sit and let their kid play and get the resources. But what if they don't have somewhere to take their child? What if they're stuck in their homes? What if their child is severe and they're just embarrassed still? They don't know about We Rock. Or what about the other countries? I mean, when we went to Malaysia, this is when I knew something, had to happen. We went to Malaysia a year ago in December, and we just opened actually in Dubai, this past, 3 months ago. So exciting, but it was so hard for me because I stayed there for another week training. And Shannon, the people that came in there, they didn't even know that they could, use an iPad for a child to teach them how to speak. They knew nothing, no apps, nothing. And there I was, and I was building this resource book for them. And I just thought, oh my gosh, there are families who still are stuck in their homes. And here too, even though, here, especially in California, but in the US, we have so many more resources, people still aren't coming out of their homes. They're not getting the information they need. And especially the newly diagnosed parents, they're overwhelmed. 1 out of 3 marriages end, when you have a child with special needs. You and I have spoken about that, and how blessed we are in our own personal relationships, but it takes a lot of work. Yeah. So I came home from Malaysia. So this project has been in the works for a year. I can't believe it. But, my team sat me down and, they said, Dina, it's time you take this further. You need to build a digital platform and get out there. And my franchise director, he said to me, every time we're on the phone and we're speaking to someone who wants to come on board for We Rock, he goes, usually I'm hanging up, before, you are. And it's because you're trying to help them and telling them more stories. And I just feel like you really need to, put that out there to the world. So we were there, we spoke about it with also, my incredible marketing team, Attack Interactive. And they were like, Dina, you've got to do this. Well, that's the love of my life. My love of my life is helping families, right? The gift for gab, we both have that. But this is something more personal. I don't know if I've ever told you this, but I have a journal, for Gabriel's life since he was 2.5 years old. So all of this information, of course, I'm continuing to educate myself with, different certifications in autism, ABA therapy, autism movement therapy, the incredible Joanne Lara. We were all certified through her. But it's really that one-on-one also. It's that one-on-one care that you need, that, we can't get out of the house to go have therapy. We can't, work on ourselves as, individuals or as a couple. And so I thought about it, and I will tell you, here we are a year later, we've launched what's called Rocking the Spectrum. Yay! Oh my gosh, I'm saying it out loud. Yes. Rocking the Spectrum with Dina Kimmel. I mean, seriously, you were like my mentor here. It's, autism-live with Shannon Penrod. And I could tell everyone, right? I actually got to interview you, okay? It was so exciting.
Much fun. It was so much fun.
Really, the producers stop talking already. We couldn't stop talking. It was 45 minutes later. But really what Rocking the Spectrum is, it is a resource network for everyone, not just for parents, not just for, for people in the field of autism, but what about people that just want to be out there and know? Because let's face it, it's spoken about now. What is it? What do we do? Well, some people are still embarrassed. They don't want to get out of their homes, or they don't have the time. I know I didn't. Yeah. I don't know about you, but I didn't. And definitely in these other countries, now opening in Malaysia and Dubai. So what I said is, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it right. One, I want to offer the one-on-one coaching. Yeah. Which I think is great. Yes. People can be in the comfort of their own home. Yep. Okay. And we do, it looks what's like Skype, but it's, something similar. And it's a form of, just coaching and helping. Yes. We've got therapists, we've got warrior moms like yourself and myself. We have teachers, educators, all different kinds of people there to support. But my favorite part about this is what we call the Warrior Network. Okay, so the Warrior Network is a library from A to Z, and that is helping you out in the areas of education, diet, neurologists, are there to, Q&A questions, everything. And what's so interesting is, and I might get emotional when I talk about this, but I didn't realize, listen, I'm passionate. Yeah. Of course, I'm passionate about what I do. But I don't want people to suffer as I did. I don't want people to have to go to 30 million websites and asking people, and the information isn't correct. Yeah. Now, not everything that you're going to hear on any site, even ours, is going to be what's going to help your child, but at least it's going to be a direction. Right. You can go to one place, and there's a library, Shannon, from A to Z that we already have filled it, over 50 videos of everything. Like I said, IEPs, behaviors, interviews to help you, exercise, and most importantly, this isn't just about our children, it's about us. Right. We teach you how to take care of ourselves. And let me tell you, okay, I've suffered my own health with this because I've just forgotten about me and everything else and just focused on Gabriel, my son, how to get him better. But you know what? Who suffers? Yeah. We do.
Well, and ultimately, then that gets passed down to him, because I've seen moms that get to the point where they can't take care of their child because they're not in good enough health to do it. And we tell ourselves, I'm so guilty of this. I tell myself, well, I got to take care of Jem first and I'll take care of myself later on. But I've watched moms fall in that respect. Yeah. And then they can't be there. So listen, I think this is all amazing. I couldn't be more excited for you and for everybody else that you've done this. I think you're the right person to do this. And I think it's wonderful.
Interesting. I mean, I feel like, I mean, now I get it. I mean, you sit up here, you know, you're not reading a script or anything. I see you. You're just, speaking, beautifully. And I think, oh my gosh, how can she do that? Well, there I am, like you now, in front of a camera, and literally, my producer, she's like, do you have a script? No. I mean, I literally blast out these videos. They're anywhere from 3 minutes to 20 minutes long, speaking about, the different behaviors, literally from age 3 to age 21, what to do, and also resources around the world, right? I mean, most importantly, look, you have a teenager. I have a 10-year-old. You have a teenager. Very different parts of the autism
totally
world.
Different, yeah.
Where do you go, right? Where do you go? Where do you find those resources? So it's there. It's all there. You know what? I want to know about medications. Now the doctor is talking to me or the therapist about medications. I don't want to hear it from a doctor. Okay, go in the library. I'm going to talk to you one-on-one and tell you how I feel, what my research, has brought.
And it's amazing because it gets people access to you and the inner workings of your brain, but it gets them access to a whole lot of other people as well. You've built this huge network. So if people are loving this, and I'm sure they are, where do they go?
Oh my gosh, well, it's rockingthespectrum.com. Yay, an easy URL, rockingthespectrum.com. And I know there's my face, and I've had to really put the vanity aside because I'm not like that.
You're
sitting
gorgeous.
In front of camera, but I'm so excited. I get just rejuvenated every time I'm in front of the camera. And I will tell you, a big part of this site also is what we call Mama D's Motivational Minutes. I love it. And what I did when Gabriel was first diagnosed is I literally just went to every different affirmation site and books I would buy because I just needed that. I needed that lift myself. And I was alone. Okay, my husband was 9 months behind me. I mean, when Gabriel was diagnosed, he was, what? We have an autistic son? What do you mean? Where have you been? Right? Well, you need to help me. No, I can't help you. You need to help yourself and I have to help our son. But what I didn't realize is, no, we needed to be doing this journey together. Yeah. And we learned. And it was hard though. But having those daily affirmations, Mama D's Motivational Minutes, literally they're 60 seconds or less of, you know what, today we're going to talk about perseverance. You guys can do it. I know it's hard for me, and boom, and I put it out there for everyone. And I get chills talking about it because this is just, again, my passion, my love, and what I know is lacking out there in the community. And that's what we want to do. We want to build a network of communities for the families all over the world.
I love it. And it's amazing because I know when I talk one-on-one with a parent, one of the first things that I hear almost all the time is that they say, I feel alone. And that's one of the hardest things. You got to get over that, but and find a place to be where you don't feel alone. And Dina's just given you a place where you only can, you'll never feel alone because there's a whole network that's there, but there's the resources too to be able to put it together, which is absolutely amazing. So
and the coaching.
And the coaching. There's a coaching
courses.
element to it, and courses, things that you can sign up to do over a period of time, which is so wise. It's so wise. And I started out by saying this is a gift to the autism community that you've done. And so go to rockingthespectrum.com and you can check all of that out. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Thank you. Well, I'm thrilled.
I'm thrilled too, and I still have not seen. I've got to see because we had such a good time. We did an interview together, and it was such a good time. People talk about, we forgot about the cameras. We really did. You and I were just crying and laughing and
giggling. We were
giggling
like schoolgirls.
Yes, exactly.
And I got to find out about you. Excuse me, all of you out there. Do you know this woman's a comedian?
Yes,
I mean, she's been a comedian. I mean, I had no idea. Now I found out you were born. Okay,
I was born in Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico. Okay, ¿tú hablas español? All right.
Un poquito.
Wonderful.
But not well either. There was a time when I considered myself fluent in Spanish, and that ship sailed because I didn't stay on top of it. My son is learning Spanish now, so maybe I'll get back on top of it. But there are still things that I get to see you from time to time. But Dina's one of those people where you're around her and you go, gosh, she's got something amazing going on. And I've always said to you that I look up to you. You bring a force to your autism and your community that you see. People follow you because you're fierce. I want to be more like you when I grow up, even though I'm significantly older than her. But I want to be more like you. But also, you have a sense for the business side of things that I don't think the average person has. So you have a very unique perspective on how to make things work, and that I think people need, that I wish, well, I mean, I love the way things turned out anyway, but I know for a fact, and I've said this before, that if things hadn't happened the way they if you had started We Rock the Spectrum just a couple of years earlier, I wouldn't be here hosting this show. I would have my own gym. That's exactly what I would be doing.
I would have loved to have you as an owner, but to not have you here next to me right now,
Well,
I can't imagine our world.
That's why I say, well, thank you. But I love being here, but I know I would have, because I would have been like, I want to just spend more time with her. I want more of what she has. And I would have done a gym so that I could have spent more time with you. Well, you could do that. You could start a gym with Dina. But the truth is, you don't have to go to that length to be able to do that. Now you get to spend more time with her through Rockin' the Spectrum, which
And
is great.
This is it for me. I'm hanging my hat here. I have to tell you,
I've heard that from you before.
No. This is it. This is it for me, because it's going to evolve. It's going to get bigger, and we're going to be doing yearly seminars. Right? It's look out.
I'm
Tony
hearing
Robbins.
it, but I'm not believing it.
Look out, Tony Robbins. Right?
I know
Okay?
you'll do all.
Seriously.
I know you'll do all of that, but then you'll turn that into something else. And
No, I mean, really, I want to make this about the families, about people getting out of their homes, and assisting them to do that, because there's still so many, sadly, Shannon, who aren't.
I know. And it's such an amazing service that you're doing. So rockinthespectrum.com, go and check it out. You'll be able to see the interview that I did with Dina. I got to do that as well. But for just a second, because we only have like 4 minutes left now, let's talk about the gyms. Because I said earlier, when you started out with one little gym because it was that your son needed. How many gyms are there now, Dina?
Well, we have now, over 50 gyms open, and almost 70 locations. I know that sounds terrible, but I guess it's good when you're not quite sure the exact number.
Well, I was going to say, since we started this interview, how many gyms do you have? Because I'm sure she opened 2 while we were talking.
I will tell you, our vetting process is different, Shannon. I really slowed things down. We want to make sure that we bring people on board now. It's different, so things have changed. We want to make sure we, bring owners on board that this is it for them. They're hanging their hat here. So if you are watching this, viewers, just know that that's what this is about. This isn't just, about the money, making a living. No, this is first and foremost about the kids. So really, that's slowed down. But you want to know what's really increased is the different countries.
Yeah.
So we just opened in Dubai. I just got back from
amazing.
Dubai 3 months ago.
Love that.
I was talking, about the Sheikh Mohammed, and I have to tell you something. It was phenomenal to hear. He, just recently, Dubai has come on board, and Dr. Nashila, our owner, is phenomenal. And she's opening all Dubai and Saudi Arabia. So also the Saudi Arabia, that country will be opening up this next year. But he doesn't call our kids, children with autism. They are people of determination. Do you not love that? I got chills when he said that.
Yeah.
And I'm standing there in front of, 200 people, and they're your excellencies, and I'm looking down, and I'm looking at my family who went there with me. My nephew Shane works for corporate. My sister Melissa, she does as well. And I'm looking at them going, is this for real? I mean, is this really happening? It's unbelievable. But now Malaysia, Dubai, and we are opening in June in Melbourne, Australia.
Wow.
Okay, so the whole country of Australia is about to blow up. We have several inquiries for there. And what's great is that when the country sells, I know that sounds funny, like we sold a country, but that's how we do it. They're called master franchisees. And these people become part of corporate. So now my team is much bigger. I'm only as good as the team I have around me. You know that. We're a family.
Yeah, but it's top down. You know what I'm saying? You set the tone. And so when people say that, I'm always appreciative when people talk about their team, but you set the tone, and I see the tone that you set. And I get it. I totally get why people want to follow you, because you're I was just going to say, it feels like a family. Your family of franchisees, it is a family. And they know that you're the mom, and that they can go to mom and say, Mom, I need something. And they know that mom is going to say, this is how we're going to do this. But they respect you. It's like it's everything a good mom should be. It's all the things that we're trying to be as a mom.
I'm far from perfect, but I'll tell you, one of my owners named me Mama D, and that's how we got the Mama D's motivational minutes for Rocking the Spectrum. And it doesn't matter if an owner is 62 or if an owner is 27. They all call me Mama D. Mama D, my one owner in Fenton, Missouri, I love him. Tom Tipton, he's like, Mama D, I need your vitamin D today. Give me a call. I love it. I love it.
And we all want your vitamin D. We're essentially out of time. So I want to once again plug this event that's happening on the 21st, 9 to 1. So in the coolest part of the day, at the coolest place that you can be in Woodley Park 2 here in Los Angeles. Over 50 vendors, all kinds of things to do. There's a walk as a part of it for you guys to do that. And it is going to be a fabulous thing. I will be there. My son will be there. We're very excited about it. I understand the Glorious Pies is going to be there. But we were just talking about Joanne Gloria. We talked to her the other day. Glorious Pies will be there. And everybody, it's a who's who, will be there. And you'll just have fun and we'll hug and laugh and the kids will play. So, and it's free. It is free. So want to encourage you guys to be there. One last time, the website for Rockin' the Spectrum. It's easy.
RockinTheSpectrum.com.
Well, I want to hear it from you. RockinTheSpectrum.com. Check that out. Also want to say programming note that we will be back on Wednesday here with Dr. Doreen Grampiche and a bunch of great guests. We're really putting the pedal to the metal on April. And then make sure next Saturday that you're tuning in on our Facebook Live because we will be at this fabulous event. And we'll be part of the Rock Walk and all of that. Yay. And we'll be doing interviews and things. So until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now.